Hello, it's me, and it's now time to commence with the assembling of this puzzle that I got on the last unboxing. So this was a combination unboxing slash assembly. So this is a newly de-stickered Landland 4x4, which, by the way, if you're going to do mods, use this product because, boy, is it smooth moving. The eSheen products were a little bit too unstable. And I found that I had to, in many puzzles, take them apart, put them back together, but this one seems to fit the bill. So what I need are these pieces here, and I'll just show you the different kinds. You've got a piece that looks like this, a piece that looks like this, and a piece that looks like this. And with this, we are going to make a 4x4 modification. Now again, these are three-dimensionally printed, and it's not shapeways, but it's not like the normal nylon. It's actually a completely different kind of material. So this comes from Klaus Winiger, who is, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but he comes up with some fantastic modifications. So I wanted to highlight some of his work, and that's what this is. So we're going to be doing some super gluing these pieces on here. And I'm going to take a look at where some of these fit. So this fits snugly over to here. So that's one part. And then I have two pieces here that come across, well, let's see if we can pair this up better, like this. And then I've got these over here, which go where the center pieces are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on where they're supposed to be. I hope you can see the black on black pretty well, but I'm going to start with super gluing and seeing where this takes us. So coming to the side here, I'm going to super glue this onto this side over here, but I want to be absolutely sure of what I'm doing because I might not get a whole lot of chances to correct any mistakes. So this is going to come on in this form to here. Okay, just put a little bit of super glue onto here. Just at the sides here, not a whole lot. Doesn't take much for this to bond, I don't think. Okay, now I have to make sure we put this on right and put it on right the first time. So I think it comes on like this. So I'm just going to latch this on like so. Okay, next is are these pieces here. This fits on nicely right over here. So same thing, a little bit on here, and carefully and judiciously apply it. Okay, continuing on to here. And finally, another one of these little corner doodads, which is going to fit right like this. Place this on like so. Okay, so we have ourselves something of what it's going to look like. Alright, so see some nice movement along in here. Sticks pretty well. You can see the pieces lining up here pretty nicely. I always get worried that I super glued things that ought not be super glued, but that looks pretty good. Okay, now that I have these parts on, I'm tempted to maybe put on a center. That's what these guys are. But before I do that, because it's going to be difficult to keep it in complete alignment, I'm going to put on this corner in next. Just have to remember the position that it goes into. Super glue. Alright, once we're satisfied with that, put this on, but let's be absolutely sure. Okay, this comes on over in here. Okay, very good. And now I'm going to cautiously put these next two sides in. A little bit here. And a little bit here. Doesn't really take a lot. This is potent stuff. Did you guys figure it out? Know what I'm making? Okay, now the next one. Now the next one. I'm going to come in like this. And next we go. Now this one I can slide in using the others as guides. And see how nicely they fit together. Okay, before I move to the centers, I think I'm going to put the corners on here as well. So same thing, super glue here. And here, just enough to mean something. And on you go. Okay, and this handsome gentleman will come right over here. Okay, now we can start closing some of these gaps. Centers are going to come in like this. And like this. Whoops. And like this. Just like that. We can see how smoothly this moves over here. Very nice. It's very smooth over here too. Okay, looking good. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to apply the super glue on these to place them. Don't think you could see that at first. So just a little spot on here. And now very carefully place them in their proper spot. And I'm actually going to be using these other pieces to calibrate. Alright, next on the hit list. So I'll tell you, the series of this is the 4x4 version of it, is a very familiar series. I don't know if I've actually demonstrated my particular one in this collection, but I do have a 3x3 version and a 2x2 version. Now the 2x2 version of this actually plays a very special place in my building of the collection for reasons that will be revealed later. Okay, continuing on with this one. Nice splash over there. And place this one. And lastly, we will do this one. And what I'll do is I'll put these guys in next. And that, I believe, is going to be just like this. Alright, moving on. And now its counterpart goes over here. And this comes to here. Okay. Okay, so first layer done, as you can see here. I don't know if you can see that with this particular camera. Moves very, very smooth. This is going to be a good one. Now you can probably piece together just what this is, but let's keep going. Okay, we'll turn it around. Actually, we'll keep it here, and now we'll start putting in edges over here. And this will find a nice home over here. Actually, before we fill in these centers, I'm going to put in these edges over here too, since they seem to fall right into each other nicely, just like that. And this guy very simply and cleanly falls down to here. On you go. Right, now that we have these on here as anchors, we can start putting the centers on. Put this in position. This guy here. And we'll carefully place him here. Continuing on. Throwing caution to the wind. So this is very unusual for me. I've done assemblies, unboxings. This is an actual finishing up a modification. The process of gluing. I've done a lot of assembling where I just snap things into place or screw things into place. But actually gluing things into place, that's not something I've usually done. Who knows, maybe my next step is to actually try to design something. But there does seem to be a natural progression that you'll find from collecting, solving, assembling, and then possibly even modding or designing. These are all latter stages of twisty puzzle fever, an illness that has no cure. Okay, we'll just let that sit there for a while. Looks like things are lined up pretty well. Okay, moving onwards, we're going to try to hit this center. You know, it's interesting, as I'm putting this together and moving this around, it's starting to take on a life of its own. It's actually getting a different feel for it. As the base cube is getting buried into it, this sort of is becoming the structure of it, and it feels different now. You can see there's different faces, where once there was one face, there's now 1, 2, 3, 4 faces. This is the thing that makes it difficult for people to solve this, is if you can retain the notion that despite the shape, it is a 4x4, and just remember that these pieces are just glued on to the base pieces, then it makes a lot more sense. Movement is very, very smooth. Okay, now we're going to move on to another part of the layers, so why don't we hit these guys here. Alright, next we put this next one on over here. And this will join its brethren right over here. Okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do is hit these centers over here. So let's move this in formation over here. But like this. Okay, now for the final edges of the middle layer here. And now we judiciously put this on here. Which I believe is this piece over here. Perfect. Okay, so now we have it down to the last layer over here. As you can see, this is coming together very well. You can check some of the motion. Incredibly smooth. Now this, despite being 3D printed and attached, does not have any of that familiar Shapeways sound to it. It's got its very own plastic sound, almost handmade type sound to it. Anyway, but it's very, very smooth. A lot of this speaks to the smoothness of the base cube, but also just how well these pieces line up here. Alright, last side, and then we can see what we're dealing with here.